So have you ever thought on the effects of radiation? When you think you're helping yourself going to the doctor, but you could be putting yourself at risk? Doctors should figure out injuries without the use of radiation all the time to protect our bodies. There are people who develop cancer from the use of radiation. It damages their cells. They cannot repair back normally how they were before. And then basically there are so many reasons why we should avoid radiation to protect our bodies. And also radiation brings electrons in our body, which our body doesn't even need. The exposure of radiation has two types of effects. There's a somatic effect and there's a genetic effect. The somatic effect is classified as early, intermediate, or delayed. So that means basically this effect does not happen right away. It takes over time for this effect to happen. Genetic effects is whenever it brings genetic abnormalities into radiation, and it's from radiation. And then over time, it affects your organs, and then it goes into your organ system and causes all those problems. And then there's a subacute injury, and there's a intermediate injury. So a subacute injury is when radiation causes a liver disease in your body. And then there's also a intermediate injury, and it messes with all your tissues in your body, and that's all from radiation. And there's a stochastic effect, and there's a non-stochastic effect. So stochastic effects are when the radiation varies in frequency, but not in a severe effect. Stochastic effects from radiation is when germ cells, teratologic effects, and the developing embryo. Non-stochastic effects can vary in severity, but not in frequency like stochastic effects. Non-stochastic effects are when they is cell loss or cells are damaged, and non-stochastic effects can also affect males, and it affects their bone growth. So the exposure to radiation can also cause cancer. Radiation causes cancer because over time it kills and damages our cells, and it can cause cancer somewhere in our bodies. The high energy radiation from x-rays and different scans you get done from the doctor causes cancer. Radiation has enough energy to damage DNA in our bodies and cause cancer. Radiation can cause cancer anywhere in the body, but it's most likely to cause lung cancer, skin cancer, thyroid cancer, multiple myeloma cancers, breast cancer, and stomach cancer. The exposure to radiation can also cause these side effects for soreness. So there's also lots of effects you get. There's soreness, dry mouth, tiredness, nausea, fatigue, hair loss, seizures, and also from all the electrons that go in your body from radiation, the atoms in our bodies get kicked out with electrons from radiation, and radiation puts more electrons in our body when our body doesn't even need them. So now I want to talk about how to avoid radiation. When you go to the doctor, instead of getting an x-ray, instead of getting MRI, you can have your doctor he can take a hypothesis and he can tell you what's wrong. So basically, okay, my arm hurts. Okay, where does it hurt? How bad? Okay, does this hurt here or here? They can it's like a puzzle piece. They'll figure out what to do and what's wrong with you, and they can take you over to physical therapy, or if they think you break something, they can put you in a cast. Because I used to be a gymnast back then, and when I was a gymnast, I got tons of injuries. I had to get tons of MRIs. I had probably 4 or 5 MRIs, and I had tons of x-rays. And then basically after that, I just stuck with physical therapy and had them figure out what's wrong with me and what's wrong with my muscle or my tendon or my ligament. And honestly, it healed a lot faster than going to the doctor or getting an x-ray. Oh, now I think you might need an MRI, so let's schedule for an MRI. So that's how you would know. And honestly, that's how I figured out how bad radiation's bad for all of us in our bodies and what it does to our bodies over time. So physical therapy can help a lot. When you go to the doctor, basically, just explain to them, like, I don't really want radiation unless it's very necessary, and basically, you don't have to get it, and they'll figure out what your injury is there on the spot, and then they'll go, all right, you need physical therapy, and you go to physical therapy, and if your symptoms changes, physical therapists are basically taught on what to do with symptoms and all those pains and all that stuff. Now, there's 2 questions I have to answer at the end of my speech. And it says, if I had to convince my friends and family to support this, what should I tell them? And I said, basically, what I should tell them is basically, I want to explain to them how radiation is bad for you and how, you should not get it unless you really need it. So, like, if you're in a car accident and you need an MRI, then yeah, go get an MRI. There's probably tons of things wrong with you. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about simple things, simple injuries, simple little things like, oh, we should get this. No, don't take that x-ray MRI unless you really, really need it. like for as a last resort. When it says which people parties oppose your solution and why. So basically, I think this involves everyone. This involves from kids, especially really young kids. This involves kids, teens, adults, older people. It doesn't matter because all of us have the same bodies, and honestly, it harms us all the same way. And I honestly think my speech is a great speech for all ages and all that. And yeah, so that's my speech, and I hope y'all think about it, and I hope this kind of like got your mind going, and it shows how, you know, radiation is really bad for you and how it damages your cells, kills your cells, and when it does that, it causes cancer, and there's all these side effects to it, and it's just not good for your body. It causes organ problems, liver disease. I explained all that in my essay really quickly, and I hope y'all enjoyed my speech.